Welcome to Thinkplus's new podcast. And today we have someone interesting with us. We have Nihira. Nihira just finished her bachelor's at IIM Rohtak as part of the IPM program, Nihira. And then she's just entering the master's program, the MBA. And in the bridge between these two, she's with us at Thinkplus, interning with us for the 2 months. Welcome to the podcast, Nihira.
Thank you, sir.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty nervous because this is my first ever podcast, but let's get on with it.
I'm good. I'm happy. Nihira, first things first, how have you liked working with Thinkplus till now?
It's only been 15 days, but I feel like these have been the best 15 corporate life days of my life here. And I think it's a really good experience. I am doing a lot of groundwork. I'm also working at the office table. These kind of experiences I've never had. So I thank you a lot for letting me have that kind of a space. And they also promote a lot of thinking, creative thinking. So it's not just you sitting in front of your laptop and working all day on the technical part. So I think it's a really good experience for me.
And I'm glad that you chose to come here all the way from Delhi. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
But anyway, let's cut to the chase, yeah? So, Nihira, see, fundamentally what we're doing in this podcast is primarily to understand life at IIM Rohtak. What exactly is it that makes the IPM program different from the BBA programs elsewhere? Why the fuss and why is it that people should go there is the question that we'll be, venturing into. But then to set context, at Thinkplus, we started with the IPMAT program as a target. And I still remember the days when Rama and I used to have this conversation. We used to believe in the program that IPM was and is. And thanks to Shillong starting it, I have 7 IIMs now. But yeah, maybe a focused question to you. How is it different?
Sir, I think there are a lot of factors that set IPM and IIMs apart from other colleges. So one really big factor for me was the risk factor. So when you are preparing for IPMAT and if you get in, you can straight away do your BBA and MBA together. So I think that's such a big plus point. I don't have to prepare for CAT again. So even if I do prepare for CAT and I give my exam, I have the option to exit BBA and go for a better college if I get one. So I think that kind of a safety net is something that is a big privilege. The second thing is networking. So the kind of people that you get at IIM, phenomenal people with really good profiles and their skills are amazing. And when you be with them, you want to be like them. So it's like the kind of groups that you make there, they stay forever. And people actually make genuine effort to be a part of groups there. Nobody is a free rider, that's what I've seen. So everybody has to compete. And that's somehow builds your personality to a level where you are just ready to face any kind of challenge. The third thing I would say is that internships, life projects, we have dedicated internship committees. And those kind of committees have a huge buzz because they actually are doing work that is helping students. So I myself have got at least 2 internships, 2 life projects from the internship committee, and I feel like they're doing a great job. So that kind of exposure is very important for students. And apart from that, the kind of stressful environment that they create, I think I would not have been able to grow as much as I have if that stressful environment wasn't there.
So basically what you're saying is students of this day and time should be stressed. Is that what you're endorsing?
I mean, I would not have it any other way. I know I have been very stressed. People have so many medical conditions because of so much academic pressure. But I think that is kind of important for you. These are the years where you're supposed to be doing all this.
Absolutely. I agree with that because the formative years of your career, right? Like this sets the base for the next 80,000 hours that I constantly talk about, right?
Yes, sir.
So what I gather from whatever you said is the peer group is amazing.
Yes, sir.
And it pushes you to strive to be better. The curriculum itself is very rigorous and hence, again, it pushes you to cross barriers and boundaries and make yourself go beyond the comfort zone. And possibly also this fact that, you study at an IIM in itself is a brand and then there's a safety net. If not CAT, then at least you can continue at IIM Rohtak.
Yes, sir.
Right. But then what is fundamentally, part of the curriculum that has stood apart for you in the last 3 years?
I think it's the diversity of subjects because we are learning everything. It's a BBA general course, but we are learning philosophy, psychology, math subjects, statistics, economics, soft skills, even softwares like Tableau. So I think that is something that I was not expecting when I first came here. I was expecting to see subjects like management, marketing, Taylor's principles, Fayol's principles, but then it turned out to be a very different experience. So I think that is something that has really stood out for me. So even the subjects that I don't like, I have to do them because I have to stay in the competition. So in the process, I've found love for subjects that I did not like initially.
And that's such a cool thing to say, right? And frankly speaking, a couple of years ago when we were going through the brochures, what we really were fascinated with was the fact that the IPM programs look almost like a liberal studies program because it's got a great mixture of subjects. Now, it's fascinating that you say philosophy. Kids these days, I mean, students have to give the IPMAT exam and RCs and all of these. More often than not, you come across philosophy as those genres, right? And then there's instant repulsion towards these things. And you know what? Sanjana, for example, one of our students, she's in your second year, she's a junior to you. What I've seen is now that she's preparing for CAT, she's actually gotten really better with her comprehension skills. And that is not something that I was expecting out of an IPM program. So how do you tie in, probably a subject like philosophy in your first term? First term?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, first term into your growth over the last 3 years. Did it add value to your life in general or perspectives? I remember you said, you scratched your brain all through the program. So
I think the biggest difference comes when the professor that comes to teach is actually interesting. And if you like the professor, I think half of the race has been won. So it's like the professor was able to evoke such huge amounts of interest when he started teaching. He was engaging. I used to sit in the first bench. And I still remember the kind of questions that he used to ask us. What is life? Do we have free will? And all those kind of questions. Those, if you actually sit and think about them, you realize that there is a lot that goes on in your subconscious, but you're not able to bring out. If that comes out, if everybody starts talking about these things, I think it'll just make such an atmosphere where nothing is ever boring. So it's like even in my free time, I go on YouTube and I search for different kind of philosophical principles, something that is very controversial, something that people are not talking about a lot. But when you hear about such ideas, it gives you more stories to tell. It gives you more things to talk about. So I think philosophy in that sense is a kind of subject that adds to my personality.
Absolutely.
So if I know more about what probably famous philosophers used to think about, and if I am not agreeing with them on some point, then I have something to talk about. I have something to share about, like my interest area lies in this. But, the popular saying goes like that. I have a controversial opinion. And I feel like having a controversial opinion is a very big, I would say, it makes you attractive.
Right. I agree with that.
So one thing that really stuck with me is this one question that Asur posed to all of us. So it was an interview setting where the employer was asking the candidate a question, and he asked the question whether the person sitting in front of him holds any power over him or not. So the instant answer that came to my brain was they don't hold any power right now. If the person lands the job, then they'll hold that power. So at that time, I was a major introvert first term. I did not speak a lot at that point of time. So it is kind of a major regret that I hold that I did not answer this question, because this is exactly the answer he was looking for. So that kind of stuck with me. And like now I'm able to, I have this confidence now that I must take that step 0 to 1. So I think that is one thing that has really stuck with me. It kind of changed my life since then.
And that's so beautiful, right? Again, the transformation that I was talking about, and why I think the IPM program is great is it puts you through a lot of things, of lot of doing, lot of thinking, lot of crying even, that it changes you as a person. And then that is something that I've seen in all of my students for the past 2 years. And yeah, sure, that's lovely. And what also kind of stays apart for me is I come from a rural management background. So when I was doing my master's, I had this program where we called it the village fieldwork segment, and we spent close to 60 days in a village, and that was transformational for me. And something similar is there in the IPM program as well. Want to throw some light on that?
Yes, sir. So when we close in on our first year, we are supposed to do a social and rural internship. So I personally did my internship at Gyan Bricks NGO. So that NGO helps students and people from slum areas, people who are underprivileged, to get enrolled into educational institutes. So what I personally did was I went to the slum area, which is in Delhi, and I did groundwork. I taught them about hygiene, so that I called it the project hygiene. And apart from that, I did a project called Gaiety, which is related to making them happy. I got them toffees, I got them different kind of gifts, and apart from that, I got the students enrolled into schools. So that these are the areas I created an impact in. So I think that was a really good experience for me, an eye opener, because most people that come to colleges are probably living in semi-urban or urban areas. So we don't get the perspective of that area, of the rural segment, and how they are living, what kind of things they go through. So I think that really was an eye opener for me.
And like you said, most of the students who come to IIM Rohtak, I believe, are from urban tier 2, tier 3, maybe even not tier 3, maybe just tier 1, tier 2 cities of the country. So the exposure that you get into the larger world, the larger population, that's immensely valuable. So what is one thing that your internship with Gyanbridge, where you enlisted students in schools, so how do you tie that up? Did you ever have such discussion at campus in any subject where you're actually talking about social justice and things like that?
So actually, this subject came a lot later. So this was in our third year, where we had a subject called Systems, Sustainability and Social Justice. So there, it was not a lot in the area of how the rural segment works, but it was more in the areas of how agri-tech works. So we studied more about horizontal and vertical structures, and how the materials and all, they flow across the system. So that is something we worked on. Then sustainability, all the SDGs, and social justice. So basically, if I give a summary, it was more on the basis of technical aspects of how we can involve technology into all these domains. So I think this exposure in itself was very exclusive, the internship one. So we weren't really taught a lot about it, but it is a good thing that we were directly given a practical. So I think that has a value of its own.
Yeah. Some sort of empathy, some sort of sensitivity towards, yes, what you do in life. And moving on from the social internship part, right? You also were mentioning that there were some subjects which added great value. So earlier we were talking about philosophy as a subject. Then I think we were also talking about things like media journalism and the one that you mentioned, SSS, Triple SJ, whatever that was. Yeah, Triple SJ. And you were also mentioning public policy by a German professor. And yeah, you had a debate with her. Her, him? Her, yeah. You had a debate with a German professor. So what was that like?
So it was basically a kind of an issue that I had with the paper that I had presented to her. So I had little research on the Agnipath scheme, and I had presented it to her. She wanted a whole framework, so I made it.
I mean, why don't you give the viewers some context on what the Agnipath scheme is?
So the Agnipath scheme, basically it was to, have a similar kind of an army enrollment system like we have in Korea and all those places. So they wanted to enroll more youth into the army.
Yeah.
And I think, according to me, I think the main aim was to cut down on the pension costs and the costs in general. But what is given on the website is that it is for, the greater good of the society, to invoke that feeling of discipline in the youth. So that is something that she was looking for, because she wanted me to go by what the website is saying. But I personally feel like research is more than that. It's getting into the facts, getting the implicit meanings out of the words that are already there. So that is something I worked on, and she did not like it. So I had to explain it to her, why I feel like this is the real reason why it was, rolled out, and all those kind of things, which took me a lot of time. It took me around 40 to 45 minutes, because she was not well versed with Indian policies. And that is a good experience. I'm really happy that I stood up for the work that I did.
Okay. And did you finally win her over, or?
I did. I mean, she was skeptical. She was also giving me points, counter arguments, which was a really good thing. I was not expecting that from her, given that she did not know a lot about the policy. But the kind of points she was putting, they really, stood out to me. Like, I could tell that she was really interested in the subject that she teaches. So yes, I think that was a
And
good experience.
that's exactly what makes a world of a difference, right? One is a professor willing to talk to you, to even tango and debate on certain things, and two, these professors being extremely passionate. I think the smaller cities, Thinkplus is in Visakhapatnam, and the smaller cities do not have access to such incredible teachers. I think that is where it makes a lot of difference studying locally versus studying at an IIM. And I'm really happy that. And also, you mentioned the foreign languages. So which language were you learning?
So in the first year, I learned Arabic.
Oh wow, nice.
In the second year, I learned French, and in the third year, I learned Mandarin.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So the French teacher was amazing. I still remember his name. So that guy, the way he used to teach us, it was so fun. It was so engaging, and I probably I would answer in every second question.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him this year only on campus, which was a really good surprise. And we even talked. We had a good chat, and I think the kind of the teaching method that he had was amazing. He was so interesting to me that I'm still learning French on Duolingo.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I find time, I try to keep my streak up.
Mm-hmm.
So still continuing with that. And I'll probably continue with Mandarin as well, because that teacher was amazing. He's one of the best professors I've ever met. And he inspired me so much to, go for a different language, try something new, that I scored really well in my exam, which I was not expecting.
In Mandarin? Oh,
yes,
wow.
sir.
Mandarin happens to be that language which has the most number of characters, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's most very complicated. But then, frankly speaking, if you really learn Mandarin, at some point, possibly you will extend into the Chinese world of manufacturing as well. So I think that's a segue. See, as a business student, I'll share my experience with it. So I come from a background, like I said, in rural management. I started my career in agri-finance and microfinance, traveled across the country, the villages. And I'm grateful for what I did, because not many people do that. They don't have access to working at the bottom of the pyramid, right? But probably a year ago, when I ended up at Bangalore, I was like, oh my God, this is completely different. So this is the opposite of what most people go through, because as the first time I was looking at Bangalore as a city and the opportunities that were available there. But imagine, China seems to be a walled off country for us. And you learn Mandarin, and that automatically opens doors for you that you did not even know that they existed. So I constantly tell my students the same thing, that you learn for the sake of learning, because that is going to open doors for you in the future. You don't know when that is going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I'm so happy. Are you happy that you've learned Mandarin or French or Arabic?
Yes, sir, definitely. The teachers were Indian for French and Mandarin both. I think that was a big factor why the subjects were so interesting. They would make sure every single student is listening. And that is really hard to do, especially in a class of 20-year-olds. So I think that was a very commendable job they did, from their end. So.
Right. Amazing. So the IPM program is indeed opening doors that, most students don't have access to. And some people can't even imagine that those doors exist. So that's great. But, one other thing that is possibly from my perspective is that I believe the IPM program is really, really rigorous. And I've spoken to some of my students in between, and they were on the verge of breaking down, and it's extremely grueling and all of that. And it takes a toll on your mental health, but at the same time, it also makes you a good person, better person. What makes it so grueling? Why is it so hard?
I think it's definitely competition. Everyone wants to be better than somebody else. And not just everyone, including me, because I see my friends around me. It is a very healthy kind of competition. Everybody will help each other. But obviously, everybody is going to have some kind of, that method, that mechanism that will keep you over others. And that is something you need to explore. So you kind of are discovering yourself within the competition. And I think if you're able to do that, that gives you, a bigger edge. It doesn't limit you to that area, but you're able to explore your own self. So I think even if it is rigorous, even if it gruels you a lot, it doesn't take away, what you really are. It helps you find what you really are. So I think that is all part of life.
I think that is Aristotelian philosophy of finding happiness in the best self or best version of yourself.
Yes.
Sure. And you were also mentioning that every semester had at least 10 presentations, 5 impromptu presentations, papers, and all of that. So throw some light on that as well.
So I have always been an introvert. I used to speak nothing at all when I first came here. Like I told you, that experience that I had even in my class. And it's still, I really become very anxious when I need to answer in class or something for the first time ever. So these presentations, they have been a huge help.
Mm-hmm.
In the second year and the third year, there were even impromptu presentations. So the professor would just pick you up and you need to start speaking. So that is a very intimidating experience for many, including myself.
Mm-hmm.
So when you actually go through it, you realize that maybe it was not such a big deal. You just had to go there, you had to speak, and everybody is able to relate to you. So nobody is judging you. So these presentations, they have really helped me to start speaking, to come out. And even if I'm able to speak so much here, that is because of those presentations. So I think a very important part was...
Yeah, I don't know, because when I took your interview, I didn't feel like you were an introverted person to begin with. So that's eye-opening for me. And one other thing that you said made a lot of sense. You hated IT, and you kind of borderline flunked on the exam, and then you recouped. And in the later semester, you came across this BATSIS,
Yes,
business
that was
algorithm
second year.
and data structures for information systems. Now that's a mouthful.
Yes, sir.
Business algorithms and data structures for information systems. And so how was that? Like, how did that fit in? Because looking at it, I'm pretty sure a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old would look at the title and say, hey, what the hell is this? Right? So what was it? What was it about?
So very honestly, I was not paying attention in the initial couple of classes. So it wasn't until the exam time came near, the mid-term examinations, where I realized I need to study it. I don't have a choice. So I started studying and I started going through the things Sir taught. And those were things that I actually found interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am somebody who feels like the education system is rigged. Most of the things that are being taught are useless.
Mm-hmm.
But this was one subject I realized that probably I'm going to use this someday, because writing algorithms is very different than writing codes. And I personally do not like Python and all those, coding softwares and everything related to coding. So this algorithm, segment was very fresh, very new, and I really liked it. And I realized that probably I can find some interest in that subject. And after that, I started listening. I found out different kind of things that he was teaching related to data structures, shortest route, longest route, all those kind of things. So I realized that some subjects you just need to, give a little bit of a push to yourself, and you'll probably realize that this is something I can do.
Absolutely. Anything specific from that subject, that any topic, any concept that you can recount?
I think shortest route was the best thing ever. Like, it was so simple. It was such an easy topic. It was very easy to visualize it, and that topic was covered in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So the point that I was active in class for 5 minutes in that lecture was a big thing, because I did not like that subject initially. So from that point onwards, I realized, okay, maybe I can do this subject. If I'm able to understand this, probably I'll be able to understand what he's teaching next. So from that point onwards, I started listening to him, and I did really well in my exams as well.
Oh, congratulations on that. So yeah, we kind of touched upon the beauty of the diversity in the subjects of IPM, and of course the beauty of the struggle at IPM as well. But I believe that the struggle is not just because of the academic rigor or the presentations or the diversity of subjects, but a lot of it also has to do with you people putting more work on yourselves. Yeah. And then that is in the form of internships and life projects. And you yourself have mentioned that you worked with a couple of firms. You did an HRM internship. And then you also worked in the space of content creation for another travel company, something like that.
Yes, sir.
So why is it, first of all, let's answer the question, why do you take these up when you know that the academics are going to be rigorous?
So to sit for this process that brought me to Thinkplus. So this is the placement, time, the summer internship when you need to get an internship into a good company. So for getting an internship in a good company, you need a kind of profile that stands out. So I think to impress the interviewer before they even choose you, there needs to be something on that piece of paper that calls out the interviewer that, okay, probably this is the kind of person I'm looking for. So you build a kind of profile that highlights the things that you're interested in and the things that you are probably good at. So to highlight those kind of things, internships I think are very important. Internships as well as competitions. So I took part in a lot of case competitions as well in the same domain, so that I can build a CV where the person who's looking at it feels like, yes, this person can be of use to me. So it is just, I think, a small part of the greater plan that every student has related to placements. So, and technically we are all working towards a good placement. That is why we are at IIM. That is why we're educating ourselves so much, so we can live comfortably in the future and have all the luxuries in life that we want. So that is why I think CV is very important, and to build it, you need these internships and these life projects.
And it's very interesting when we take classes here in Visakhapatnam, some of the schools, colleges. We made a point to push some of these students to think about their future, focus on future, imagine, what is it that they would like to be and how is it that you should approach, build profiles. And intrinsically, once you reach IIM Rohtak, you're already in that kind of a rat race. I mean, it's a good rat race. It's not a bad rat race for that matter. And, I believe what is transformational is not really the subjects you learn. Of course, that is important. But the belief and faith that you build on yourself that, hey, I can survive. I think that's what sets institutions apart, right?
Yes.
Of course, the alumni network and all of that. So when you picked up your first internship or life project, what was that? Where was that?
So it was actually my first ever internship was at Gyanbrix NGO itself. So there I've already talked about the experience with social and rural internship. Apart from that, I used to have my own organization back at school, which was live until I joined college. So there also I used to do something similar. I used to talk about SDGs and I used to build awareness. We had webinars. We also successfully conducted an MUN conference. So that was a huge achievement from our end, given that we were all student-led, students only, probably in 11th and 12th class. What's really commendable about what we did back then was that we also had people in our team who were from other countries. We had a girl, I remember her name, Nadia. She was from Africa. So she had very different kind of perspectives. We used to focus on SDGs. So the kind of SDGs that we used to focus on in India were different from the SDGs that they have to focus on in Africa. So those kind of perspectives came in and we had a really good time in that organization. Apart from that, I did a corporate internship to get some experience in that world at iFortis. So I made my own team of 20 employees. We used to do marketing and I handled a whole dashboard. I gave them portal accesses and all that kind of things that a general HR does. And I held interviews, shortlisted people, saw their CVs. Then the next one was at the Tarzan Way, which is a travel company. And I wrote blogs for them. I optimized their website. I did a lot of SEO, SEM, research, keyword research, Ahrefs, all those websites I was well versed with during that internship. So that was, I think, one of the best internships ever for me because it was really helpful. They actually gave me work that was important to do at that point of time. So the feeling of making an impact is, again, top of the world. So these are the kind of internships that I've done.
Yeah, unlike Karl Marx's alienation. But yeah, that makes sense. And I hope you do that. You do the same with us at Thinkplus. Like, this is impactful, by the way. At least 1,000 odd people are going to look at this. So it is indeed going to be impactful. So, we've looked at the journey. We've looked at academics. We've looked at how profile building adds value and how the opportunities pop up through your committees and all of that. Maybe we didn't touch upon committees. Were you part of any committee?
No, sir. I wasn't exactly part of that committee. In fact, in the first year, I would like to share this very personal experience wherein I did not score enough to be a part of the clubs and committees. And I thought, okay, probably, because I am somebody who loves clubs and committees. In my school, I used to be part of the math committee, even though I hated math. I used to be part of the literature club, the economics club, and I was myself the school prefect, which is a discipline committee. So I used to love the concept of clubs and committees. And when I came to college, I did not do very well in first term, majorly because of the mathematics subjects, because I did not have any interest in differential calculus back then. So I was not able to clear the cutoff for the clubs and committees. But one thing that was a really good experience for me was that I had applied for the academic committee, which is for CRs. So I was the final candidate. So that made me realize that I have it in me. I just need to push myself further. So I'm going to try this year for MBAs, internship committee, placement committee, and all those committees. So I have been preparing for that, and I'm going to get those things, back in life, all the clubs and committees and the humongous amount of work that they give, because I like to grind myself in that area where I can think.
All the best for being part of the PC.
Thank you so much.
It's going to be rough next 2 years once you get into that. So what sets that journey apart is also the fact that there is an opportunity to be part of all of these. And even if you are not part of all of these, there's more opportunities available that you can create for yourself, is what you're saying. That's really lovely. But then that said, we've dwelt, on the past, on the last 3 years, how this is so beautiful. And what does the future lie ahead for you? Like, what do you look at? How did this contribute to your decisions about your future?
The Thinkplus.
Not just Thinkplus, but going ahead, your MBA, post-MBA, what are you looking at life?
So I think my life has drastically changed because I lost a couple of friends that I never thought I would be losing them, because they have opted out and they'll be going to different colleges. So I did not give CAT this year, but they gave, and I'm hoping that they get into really good colleges. So I know that I have to change my group. There are a lot of things that I need to work on. I have to build a new peer network all over again. So that is tiring, but I'm pretty sure I'll do good in that area because I was able to find such amazing people in the first go. So I have faith in myself, in that area. And apart from that, I'll have to put in more work because MBA is no joke. And from IIMs, it is supposed to be very, very grilling. It's supposed to be a lot of burnouts and stress and anxiety and everything related to MBA in general. And apart from that, I see myself going in the marketing area or probably the HR area. So that is something I still have to decide. And I'll just look at how things are. And I'm somebody who likes to make decisions spontaneously. So I don't like to think a lot about the future. I have an idea about the next couple of months, but I want to keep my options open. I don't want to limit myself by saying, okay, I'll do this, I'll stick to this forever. So that is the kind of mindset I have. And I'll just let things happen for now. So let me figure out a couple of things first related to my life, personal life, and all those kind of things. Then I look at things that I'm actually, improving at, areas for improvement, areas of growth, and I'll venture into those directions.
I love how you've been constantly saying growth, self-betterment, and things like that. That's amazing. Maybe as we close towards the end of the podcast, what could possibly be a couple of things that you would suggest to students out there, grades 9, 10, 11, 12, who are aspiring to get into the IPM program, now that Shillong is also there, Indore has always been there. So what do you think they should be doing over the next 3 to 4 years, if they have whatever number of years they have time? What should they do to really get there?
So I think one area that I would have really, improved upon if I had time like you guys have. So I would have gone into areas of public speaking. So taking those classes, I think that'll really help. Even if I have an opportunity right now, I'll go and take that opportunity for public speaking because it's a very important skill that you must have. And apart from that, for students in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, I think it's really important if you're a part of clubs and committees in schools. They really make a huge difference because I remember my interviews that I gave for so many colleges. I got offer letter from NMIMS Mumbai, from Symbiosis, from IPU, all universities, CUET. I scored really well. So all these interviews the main things that I talked about were the books I love, the books I read, and the kind of ideas that I have that are probably controversial, like I was telling you earlier. And apart from that, the clubs and committees, the people who are interviewing are really interested in the things that are not just academics. They want to know who you are as a person. So if you're able to get to that conversational level with the interviewer, I think you've already, won their hearts. You have that seat. So for that, you need to have a strong background, not just in academics, but in extracurriculars. So like I used to take part in the art committee as well, the singing committee, the dance committee, all committees, as many as possible. I would, keep them around me. So those are the kind of things that you need to focus on. And of course, the discipline committee, if you are able to become a school prefect, I think that's a big win. So they titled it the Director's Award at my school. So when you listen to something that is, so important, it feels so important, the other person would want to know that what is it about? What did you do? What kind of skills that you had that landed you this role? So these kind of things matter. And apart from that, you can start something of your own. I remember the student-led initiative that I had, the Sustainable Navonimesh. It went a huge way to, help me secure the seats in these top colleges. So you just start something of your own, have a blog. That is the simplest thing to do, in today's time. Just go to Wix, to any website, and they'll give you you don't even need a domain for that, honestly. Yeah. You can write on WordPress. So these are the kind of things that you can focus on. Writing is something very important. So.
But when you say writing, speaking, your profile, for example, what you're basically saying is do things and don't just think about doing things.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think just one last pointer that I would like to ask here. You would be having friends out there who are prepping for these just as competitive examinations like JEE and NEET. And all of them have a single digit or even lesser than a single digit acceptance rate if you look at the top schools. And the IPMAT program is no different in that matter. It's also a single digit acceptance rate. But what do you think is the difference between a student who is prepping for JEE, their approach, versus what a student who is prepping for IPMAT, their approach? How do they probably differ?
So I think people who are preparing for JEE, they start very early. I've seen my friends back in school, they started preparing for these exams, in 6th grade. I think that is very, it puts a very big toll on your mental health. Because those were the ages, the years where you had to, explore out with your what you actually want to do. And I think a lot of people who go for JEE are probably pressurized by parents. So even if you are interested in it, I think it is mentally takes a lot of toll on you, because for these exams, you don't just need preparation, you need time, and you need a lot of time to prepare for this, to become confident in attempting these kind of exams. And the kind of atmosphere that has been created around JEE, I don't think that is very healthy. I feel like it's a little toxic. And I've seen even in my class, probably 30 to 40% students are of the science stream. They have gone for IPMAT. So when you talk about IPMAT, I think 1 year preparation is more than enough. So that kind of preparation is not just based on, scientific facts, numbers, and chemistry, physics, and all those subjects, but they're also, kind of holistically changing how you mentally think, because it's related to your aptitude. Yep. It's not related to cramming up formulas and all. So I think IPMAT can be an exam that you give alongside JEE. You don't need to, rely on just that one path when you have another one that you can try on. If you have good aptitude, if you have good VARC skills, you can think logically, you have good quantitative aptitude and, skills like that. It's actually very simple if you prepare for IPMAT. Even a 3-month course, like I personally prepared for just 3 months when I gave my IPMAT. So these are the things that, even science students should consider, because the success rate, as you said, is very low. And even for IPMAT, it's low. But if you have 2 pathways, you can definitely, have a better chance at landing a college of your dreams. And even if you prepare for IPMAT, you are set to give out other exams like NPAT set and so many other BBA related exams. So preparing for IPMAT is preparing you for 100 different colleges. So that is the thing.
And what I would like to emphasize is on the thing that JEE prep, NEET prep, these are like, 12 hours a day kind of rigorous prep. And the difference is in that IPMAT is not going to give you a 100% entry. It's just the admission test. And after that, you have, close to 15 to 30% of your weightage on your academics, on your interview. So what happens here is your profile is really important. And I personally say, at least at Thinkplus, this is what we are doing, is that, of course, we are prepping our kids for, the IPMAT entrance test, build their aptitude, especially with verbal ability and things like that, which I deal with. We talk about philosophy, natural sciences and all of that. But at the same time, what we're also trying to do is how do we create opportunities for the students to do things like we were talking about, right? And the doing part in today's world and time, I don't think, there are enough opportunities, but they're not accessible or at least not known, aware. I think a large portion of Thinkplus's style of prepping students is not just the aptitude, but also about building the profiles, helping them how to figure out what they are, who they are, and things like that. Self-reflection journeys and, the whole public speaking and all of that. I think, I'm not sure if you were part of one of our programs, but then you should surely be part of the book club presentations that happen and the other clubs and committees that you were suggesting that we will be starting soon. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time, Nihira. Lovely speaking to you. And I hope our viewers loved the conversation. And we will soon come back with more conversations with Nihira and Navya, the other intern at Thinkplus from IIM Rohtak. So thank you. And please like, share, subscribe, and suggest watching this and watching Nihira's journey over the past 3 years and figure out whether you want to get into a BBA program at IIMs or not. Thank you. See you again. Bye.